Yeah, Mike, there we go. Hey, welcome to Ground Zero Lounge. I'm Clyde Lewis, and I'm so glad to see so many people here tonight. Let's hear it again. I love to hear the applause. It's nice. It's really a great time for everybody. It's the time for Halloween. It's the time for what I call the transcendency. And what I mean by that is that every single one of us around this time of year has to understand that there's more to life and more to us than just the sum of all of our parts. There's stuff going on in the world. We've talked about a lot of strange things going on in our universe, things that may be planned for us in the future, things that may be happening that even though we may not have control over them, we sure can look to the stars and we can understand that with so many people and so many witnesses telling us that communication is all around us, maybe it's time we should all start thinking of a way to communicate back. A way for us to have control over what goes on out there. And usually around this time of year, I tell my audience that those paranormal experiences are there if you just look for them. And what a paranormal experience is, it could be a feeling that you're getting, it could be something deep inside of you, it could be seeing an apparition, it could be feeling it, it could be sensing something, it could be seeing into the future. It's a lot of things. Tonight, I want to introduce you to someone who I believe is a shaman. And many of you don't know what shamans do, or what a shaman is capable of doing, but it's always been my definition that a shaman is a person that takes you from one state of mind and puts you in another state of mind. Now that can be a hypnotist, that can be someone who has some power of illusion, perhaps some power that can take you to another level. The person I'm going to bring on stage, Soriah, has taken me to that level, and tonight I'm going to take you there too. Will you welcome to the Ground Zero Lounge stage, Soriah. Hello, Soriah. Now, a lot of people in the audience are a little confused, I'm sure, because you have a birth name, which is Enrique.
Yes, that's my father's name.
Okay. So, where do we find, why are you using the name Soriah?
Well, Soriah was, it's an interesting story. I've been a musician all my life, and a few years back, about 1995, I had written a song, and the lyrics were about my higher self, my essence, my soul, what remains after this body dissipates when I reintegrate. It was that voice speaking to my body voice, my Enrique, as it were. And basically, the lyrics went, it was basically about not freaking out about, little worldly things. Mm-hmm. The worst that can happen is you can die and then you'll be reintegrated, and then the answer will be pretty apparent, I think. And so I think it was to revel in the mystery of life. And so we were trying to find a name for the title for this track, and we tried to figure out what it meant, and we ended up saying, okay, it's a course. It's like a directions from this essence. And so the person who was recording, the engineer, he was like, so who is that? And it just kind of came to me. Phonetically, I said Soriah, and I knew, there's a frequency change at that point. I think that I just felt that I had kind of like sunk into a pocket, and it was just kind of resonating there. And I just lived with that for a long time. A few years went by, actually, and I'd never heard it before. I didn't have any any other associations with Soriah, and until I was with my friend. We went down to Eugene to check out the Bach Festival, and we had a date with her father, and we went to this place called Cafe Soriah in Eugene. And so I was like, oh, great. Finally, maybe it means something. Maybe it's just a name or whatever. We'll figure it out finally.
Right.
So I asked the owner, and he said that it was a Sufi term, Islamic mysticism, poetry, art, and Rumi, and all of that wonderful stuff. It was a Sufi term for the Milky Way, and that was just kind of like one of these synchronicities that has kind of like fueled what I do and who I am and what I bring out of the air when I do my performance, ritual, concerts or whatever.
Now, one of the things that I hear about you, there's a lot of mystery about you as a person. I mean, a lot of people when...
Kind of shy.
Yeah, well, when your name is mentioned, everyone who I've talked with, when you mention your name, they always equate it with good. And that's in every aspect. I mean, you're a good guy, very talented man. You have something inside of you. Now, it's a gift. And I'm asking you, when did you realize that you had this gift to take people from one area in the mind to another area? That whole transcendency, that whole moving people through the dimensions with your voice.
I don't know, terms like gift, I'm not sure if I fully am able to understand what that means entirely. I pursue frequency. I refine frequency and energy. And that's my pathway. As far as like, okay, saying that you have a gift, I think kind of separates you from other people. And that's definitely what I don't want to do. I would love to, incorporate what I try to do when I do Soriah, when I'm performing Soriah, when I kind of turn on to that kind of DNA frequency of this, of my, pure essence, as it were.
You have the power to open the channels.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of
Soriah,
sinking in.
yeah.
It's kind of like I kind of equate it to kind of like almost like a hypnosis, or something where you could imagine somebody being hypnotized at some point. Okay, there's a bell, and you just drop
Right.
into it.
Sure.
So anyway, as far as like a gift, I think I don't want to separate myself from anybody's capability in any other aspect. I mean, everybody has something that they might do well, or I just kind of feel like I want to be a voice for the moment.
You're more or less, though, I mean, when people, tonight he's going to perform for us, and we're going to do one segment, and then at the end we're going to do a segment that's going to be participation. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute, because it's something that I want to do, and I'll explain to you why I want to do this. But you're like a transmitter that's like channeling something, and I don't know where it comes from. I remember when I first saw you, saw you performing. I've seen you around here many times, we've talked, and there are many people who have said you need to see him perform. And you were leaving for Tuva, and you were on this stage, and you just captivated the entire audience. And it was just so strong, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Because I knew it was coming from somewhere out there, or where and that's why I think it's interesting that you say it's Sufi for Milky Way, because there are signals, and I told you about this, there are signals that are being down to this planet by other planets, and they've been announcing this, and we've ignored the signal. And so, do you think you're channeling this from someplace?
I think I'm opening. I think I'm opening to the moment, in the sense that there's all kinds of elements of the moment. I mean, your frequency that you're giving off, I would imagine, is probably as strong as all these others. And so I really try to incorporate. I try to like listen when I'm doing this. I mean, obviously I'm singing and I'm creating these frequencies and overtones. But I'm also, what I'm doing is trying to listen as much as I can.
So you're drawing in as well as giving out.
I'm drawing in. In fact, I would equate the experience of hume, which is the traditional term for throat singing in Tuva, at least hume, as an not so much of an expansive endeavor as kind of like an introversion, kind of an inclusion, a more of a micro discovery, you know, of space and energy. As much, I can say it's simultaneous, but I think what happens when I feel the most like in a what would be, I guess, equated in English would be kind of like a transcendental state, would be when I'm going in myself, and when I'm really inverting everything and going that way, that direction, right, instead of this direction. Right. But you know that's all up to perspective. You know.
Okay. Well, what I want to do is we've been talking about what Soriah does. I call it shamanistic. He does something called throat singing or hume. And it's an amazing feat. It's an amazing thing. What I want to do now is I want to give him an opportunity to give you a demonstration of what that is. And then we'll talk more about it. If you have any questions, we have two microphones, one over here and one over here. You may want to express, you know, what you're feeling and what you're sensing. And then towards the end, we're going to do one last type of thing. We're going to ask more questions of Soriah. And then, you know, just to get a feel for it. Because around Halloween, I always tell my audience that I want to give you an experience. Because I've had experiences in my life that have changed my life. And that's why I talk about what I talk about. And that's why I tend to have these things that I want to reveal to you. Well, this is an experience I think you should experience and feel. So, Soriah, it's up to you now.
Thank you. I'm just going to use this one for this segment, Stevie, if that's okay. Okay. I feel like I should explain a little bit about hume. Hume is from a little country north of Mongolia called Tuvan, in the very center of Asia. And there's three main styles of hume. There's the Kagara, which is the style that most people kind of equate to throat singing, that they hear the Gyuto monks of Tibet do, you know, the low guttural chanting. There's hume, which is just kind of like the bass form of it, using overtone scales. And then there's the sugut. And now the sugut it's more of the upper register harmonic scale. But I'll do examples of all three of them. This is Kagara.
Very good. Very good.
Let's gaga. Now the next style I'll do is ume. And the last one is suguk. And this in particular, I think it helps, especially if you've not heard it before, to get the context of where it comes from. All of these styles are meant to create an image of the land of Tuva, or different natural settings. And this particular one, suguk, is meant to create an image. Imagine yourself lying down on the steppes, on the large plains of Tuva, in a vast, wide expanse with some mountains off in the distance, and looking up at the clouds and laying in tall grass and hearing the wind whistle through the grass.
Very good. Soriah. Now, it needs to be pointed out that a lot of these, you were talking about, the styles and how picture yourself the land of Tuva and the mountains. Most of these sounds that are coming from you are element sounds. They're sounds that the water makes, right?
They're very elemental. They're directly from the experience of being there, being in nature and opening yourself and listening, like I was saying before, just kind of really opening yourself and listening to the experience and to what sound you hear. And there's the Tuvans came up with this, but everybody has their life and their environment. And I think that's the underlying message. I think that the Tuvans spread, and they're purely in love with their environment, the animals, everything, and it's a very holistic message in that they just listen to the worlds that they've created or that they find themselves in, and they come closer to knowing how things work, how you know, why the water runs, why the wind blows, you know, by emulating it. And yeah, I think it's a valuable lesson, and it, at least for me, it tells me to kind of stop and just absorb.
How do you get beyond the distractions? Because I know that in Tuva, you went to Tuva, as a matter of fact,
Yeah, that's right.
just about a month ago, and they don't have the distractions we have. I mean,
Oh, they do.
They do?
They do. Yeah.
and when do they go into the country and do this? Or I mean, what did you do? Why did you go to Tuva, to experience the land there, or what?
I actually went to go to a workshop of this group, Chugilchin, that they conduct workshops. They've conducted workshops that I've gone to before over the years. This is the first one actually that was available. We can actually go to Tuva and study there.
Fantastic.
At the source, yeah.
But see, what I'm getting at is, though, I've said many times that one of the things about being here on this planet and knowing that there's something out there, something that's coming down from out there, and they're all waiting for this communication to come down from space. And it's supposed to be some electronic communication that says, yes, we're here, we're aliens, and we want to take over. They're waiting for that. And it has been my, I guess you could say, speculation or my faith or whatever, that if anything's going to communicate with us out there, it would have to be in the natural elements such as what you're doing right now. And the reason why is because what better way to communicate than in a primitive form where we're taking resonance and we're giving it an opportunity to travel across the cosmos. Now, I played for the audience the sound of Saturn and what it sounded like about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And if you missed it, you can go on ideocast.com and listen to some of the shows because it's still there. And it sent out that resonant tone. There was also the hexagon that was on top of the pole. And I speculated that maybe some sort of dimensional creature was trying to communicate with us and trying to tell us in a simple form, we're out here, don't bother us, or we're out here, we want to communicate. And everyone's expecting some horrendous, great big show, when in reality, maybe they just want to give us a small communication, which is similar to what Soriah does. After all, I mean, Star Trek, for example, that sound of the whale that it was sending out in that one Star Trek episode, there was nothing to send that sound back. There was nothing to send that sound. There was nothing to create that beautiful sound of the whale, where the whale song is, I don't know if you've ever listened to whale songs, but it has that kind of a ethereal tone to it, which means that our communication level, where we communicate, is a more dense level, that there are other areas inside of us where we do communicate, and if we open up to those communication signals, like some of the animals do, and if we open up to those things, maybe we'd be able to hear what's going on out there. And maybe we'd be able to hear what's going on in here and in here. Because at one time, man was bicameral, at least they theorized, that there was messages being sent from the brain that we heard, and that every tree and every plant and the sunrise and everything had a sound. Now I would venture a guess, Soriah, that the sounds that primitive man or early man heard were the very sounds that are coming out of you.
I don't know, I can't speculate.
You can't speculate. Well, but the reason why is you look at other things, like for example, I can only compare it to the Aboriginal didgeridoo, where that sound also comes out, and it's a natural sound. It's a water sound or a sound of the great oceans or what have you.
Yeah, I think of what initially turned me on to throat singing was its frequency, you know, and there was something familiar about it. And, you know, it's something you can't really put your finger on necessarily, but it is familiar. It might go back generations. It might be blood memory. It might be, you know, soul memory, whatever. But I noticed that in certain states that these sounds are being produced by your own chemical process that's going on in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are naturally drawn to that, to resonate at these frequencies, to resonate at this megahertz, whatever. You know, different notes have different properties and different colors and whatnot. And I think in a sense it's about reaching a place of where we have this kind of transcendent understanding. And I think the pursuit of that is, you can find it in music. I mean, you find it in music, you find it in sound. It's an amazing and it's an amazing, incredible journey, just unraveling sound and feeling different things. How are you emotionally attached to this particular song? Why?
Yeah.
Or if you hear something that you really dislike, why do you not like that? And you just opening yourself to an experience of like self-realization through sound. I think
What about voices? Just people talking. I mean, you're talking with someone, you can pretty much tell their character by the words they use, the frequencies they choose to use, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so, and do you have since you're opening to the residents, do you have I guess you could say, a second sight to the characters of people? Do you kind of feel yourself knowing people by the way they speak or the sounds they make, or even you find yourself with animals a little bit more in touch or in tune?
No, I just have it inspires a love of life for me. I don't feel that it's necessary to be able to predict. Oh, I know what you're all about. I'm more interested in the mystery. I'm more interested in it's just an incredible thing to exist with you here now, in this time and place. And I think just the kind of, it inspires, it puts things into a perspective of where it's, you really just embrace the world you live in and all the frequencies, and the more things you figure out about your world, your environment, patterns and whatnot, the more questions arise, and it's always the pursuit of the unknown, and I'm very, I guess I'm zen in that regard, is that like I'm just into the pursuit, and I don't want to know all the answers. I mean, there'll be time enough for that. That's what I'm thinking.
And you're thinking
there'll be time enough for that. I'm not freaking out about it.
Now, I was reading somewhere, and it was funny because I was telling people that I'm going to bring, Enrique, Soriah to this stage. And the purpose for bringing him here is a number of reasons. One, I want people to acquaint themselves with you and get to meet you and realize that here in Portland we do have this amazing talent. Don't you think? Amazing talent with Soriah? Yeah. And I was thinking not only that, but I was also thinking to myself, well, what we need to do is we need to find a way, because the signals have been coming down from space, at least NASA said so, and a few other people have said so, and many people want it.
Do you feel it?
Yes, you feel it, you can feel it. But see, I wanted to say, well, what we're going to do is we're going to bring him on stage and we're going to send a signal right back out into the cosmos. People say, how's that going to happen? Because you're only going to be doing it on this stage. And so I was doing some investigating into throat singing. A lot of the early shaman believed that throat singing would put a mark in time-space. That the reason why they did it was because it would create this, I guess you could say, this vortex, or this, it would open up.
Right.
And sometimes the effects would last for thousands of years. And it could cause resonance where rocks would split, walls would come down, earth would quake. I mean, I was reading about all this stuff, about the resonance. In fact, talking about the resonance like in the biblical scriptures about walls coming down from resonance.
Well, the Tuvans that I've talked to, especially a lot of the shamans, really highly regard fume because for that extra dimensional ability for it to affect the other dimensions that are happening right here,
Exactly.
Right here. And so, with the use of the overtone, harmonic scales and frequencies and whatnot, and as well as the Buddhist monks, that's how they use Kagura, that you guys hear a lot. That is basically a direct message to any spirit who would want to disturb their peace, their meditation.
Right.
Because they're putting this spell onto this kind of like spirit dimension.
Right.
Or for any like spirit that would want to like shake them out of it. They cower in fear. And as well as the Tuvan shamans, they believe that the overtones are in direct communication with spirits and ghosts and elements and whatnot. And so that's I think as far as what you were saying, as far as like leaving a mark or having the extra dimensional capability of contact, I definitely drive.
So yeah, it's an amazing thing because I was worried. I didn't know about, because people would say, well, how is this going to get out to there? Because if I did it on the radio, we could send it out into the ionosphere, come back down into your radio, and it would definitely go up there, and it'd keep going forever and ever and ever and ever till some alien hears it and tries to send the message back. And so that's easy. It'd be easy to put him on TV and have the same thing happen. That's easy. And I was thinking, but I can't do that because we're not on the radio. We are being videotaped tonight. We're going to be online. And every time that sound is coming out of your computer, and every time someone's going to download it off Google or what have you, it's going to open up that channel. That's the amazing thing. So every time you demonstrate this, if you go home and you find it online and you open it up and you play it for someone, you go, this is the most amazing thing ever. When that goes out, that's going to send that channel out even more and open those channels even more. That's the amazing thing about this type of singing.
In my experience in delving into the sound, you realize that sound never stops.
Right.
We cease to hear it, but the actual frequency doesn't stop. It keeps going and going and going and going. So, it's not necessary to have a big antenna or it's helpful, to get people, to see it and whatnot, but I've come to the realization that you don't have to. Just creating the reality of this happening here, it's a happening as a phenomenon is enough.
Right.
That with the intent and the will and the means is sufficient.
And the concentration with everyone here tonight too. It's really going to help out a lot.
Exponentially.
Doug, you wanted to say something? He's coming back to the phone.
I just have a question for you, Soriah. When you perform without a microphone, do you think about the size of the room that you're in, whether it's big or small, or if it's wet or dry, and does that help you to, or does it affect how you perform? Because being indoors versus being outdoors, we hear what's in the microphone. Clyde's hearing you by sitting next to you. We're hearing you through the speaker.
Right, and what you're hearing is definitely a lot different from what I'm hearing.
Right.
That's for sure. So that's always a way. I don't know. I'm partial to performing outside myself. And without mics and sound systems and stuff like that. It's a very enjoyable experience doing it and hearing yourself with lots of space and stuff. And it definitely triggers something. It's like a mirror holding up against itself. It just kind of, you hear it and then you're inspired by it and then you further get inspired. It's kind of like this growing thing. But I prefer performing in natural spaces, and I've performed buried in the ground. I performed high up in oak trees and in caves and all kinds of wonderful places.
Haunted places?
Haunted places, yeah. I've performed a few times down in the Shanghai tunnels, and what was it? Castillo de Marcos in St. Augustine. Some really powerful places where you just are drawn to. But that has different resonance. Resonance with mics and stuff like that are for the humans, for everybody here, and that's fine. And I love catering to that because you're part of the experience too, But I also really love, and the Tuvans love doing this too. They will just go to a power spot and just do it for the rocks. They'll do it for the plants. They'll do it for potatoes. They'll perform for, like, you know, anything that they're inspired or they believe deserves this kind of thing, that they want to show thanks. I hope I answered your
Clyde,
question.
what you'd appreciate is you talking about outdoor performance. One of the cool rock recordings is Led Zeppelin. Physical Graffiti was recorded outside,
Right.
instead of the studio, and you can hear planes flying overhead. I thought you might get a good guess.
That's great. Thank you. So anyone else has a question for Soriah? If anyone wants to come up, you're more than welcome to come up and ask some questions. I know a lot of you are probably overwhelmed by what you're hearing tonight, but it really, after discovery and reading and learning more about what he does, I found it more and more intriguing that what's going on here and what's coming out is actually making things move. It's making the molecules move. It's making the blood move. It's actually making things change right here. Metamorphosis is changing. I mean, you can tell by the way you feel. I mean, does anybody feel it? Like when he was doing his styles, were you feeling it? Yes, you were feeling something. Now, what it is like he says, it's the mystery. Being enveloped in the mystery and wondering what it is that's triggering that inside of you. Could it be that we have gone on for so long listening to all the outdoor sounds and listening to the television and the radio and the hummings and the frequencies of all the lights and everything around us that we have forgotten? And I sensed this when I was up on the mountain. One of the reasons why I think James Gilliland is so in tune is because when you're up there, that's all you hear. You hear the streams, you hear the birds, you hear the coyotes, you just hear the rushing of the air. And that's enough to inspire you. When you hear those things, you are open to all of the other things that surround us. All the things that penetrate us, all of the things that keep us in tune with something that is greater than what we truly are. That's the mystery. What is it that's out there? I mean, the power of the planets, the power of the stars, the power of the sun. And I've talked about the power of Saturn and how Saturn's influenced a lot of people lately. And how it will influence us in the future. And with the sounds coming down from that planet and what it means to all of us, it could be a communication. Maybe it's not the communication we're looking for, but it's definitely a natural communication that is coming down from the sky. And when they wrote in the Bibles, and when they wrote in the Quran, and when they wrote in all of those ancient books about the voices from heaven, and the voices from the angels, and the roaring sounds of God, think of what that all meant to them. And think about what's going on here tonight. This is all being channeled through one man, a shaman, literally a shaman, because he's taking you from one stage of mind to the next stage of mind. The purpose tonight of the show, pretty much, was to create for you tonight a paranormal experience. The paranormal experience that I wanted to create for you is an experience where you are becoming aware of what's around you. There are many things going on in the world right now that need our attention. And in that resonant form that we will take ourselves into when he performs his last moment here with us, I want you to think what you want to see changed while the doors are open to you to have change happen. What I'm getting at is that we're looking at fires in Malibu. We're looking at the entire area there burning as we speak. The elements are out of control there. We have weather that is out of control now, that seems to have this planet going to and fro. We also have a problem in Georgia right now. Georgia at the moment is down to its last 3 months of water, and they have no plan B to get them out of this mess. These are things that are concerns that don't get any attention, but they're concerns because the elements seem to be out of our control. They seem to either be retreating or being destructive. that is a sign of the Saturnalian power, the out-of-control harvest mentality. That what it is that we are out of line at the moment, and we need to find things and bring them all back in line. It's the idea that the signal has been sent, and now there's no one to send a signal back. There's no one out there to say, we're here. There's no one out there to jump up and down and scream, stop. Stop. Here's a sound that I think you'll understand. It's kind of like Horton Hears a Who, you know what I'm saying? That little dust speck. And all those people were screaming and yelling, please don't boil us because we are here. We have a purpose, and we want to be successful in our purpose. We want to be one of mind, and one of body, and one of soul. These are some things you think about when you hear Soriah do what he does. Now, how are we for time? We almost there? Has anybody got a watch?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, good. We're right on time. So here's the deal. Some of you tonight may be having within you, or may want to have the opportunity to come up in front of the stage here, and I want you, and this is so you can feel what everybody else needs to feel. If you could like form a line and hold hands in front of the stage, to get this, I want to have a chain of power. And the reason why is because I want everyone with their thought forms to create this chain of power. And it's not going to be embarrassing. I'm not going to call you out on anything. I want you to do that. If someone would please come forward, join hands, everybody that can fit in front, I want you to come up here and join hands together. So don't be afraid to do it, because he's going to do his final thing. So come on up, for those of you, and I mean it. Come on up and do it. It's not going to harm you. Good. Feel you're coming up. That's good. I want a lot more, because we want you all to join hands up in front. And the reason why is because we want to have a line of force so you can feel the power in everybody's hands. And I mean this, you guys, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think. I want you to think amongst yourselves about something that you want to see change while the doors are open to you with what he's about to do. Also, Stevie, I would like to bring the lights down just a little bit for this. That way people can be more in the mood. And you're going to go to that microphone there. And I want you to, when you breathe, I want you to breathe in. I want you to feel that you're in tune. And for those of you that aren't participating in the line, I would like for you to close your eyes. And I'd like for you all to think with everybody up here. I would like all of you to think with everybody up here for some change to take place. Something that you're in need of, even if it's something personal. Something that you're in need of. And I'd like for everybody in the next room to be quiet. Please. Please be quiet. I know everybody has a tendency to be loud, but I want this to work. This is your paranormal experience for Halloween. And I want you all to feel it. And here we go. Soriah, take us to where we need to be.
will be performing again tomorrow night at Steve's party here at Dante's if you want to come back and enjoy it. Tomorrow, actually next week here at Ground Zero Lounge, David John Oates is going to be here from Australia. And he's going to be bringing with us reverse speech. We'll be hearing all the reverse speech and interesting things that he's found for us. So David John Oates, tell all your friends, and he'll be here once again. A big hand for Soriah. Thank you so much. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody from Ground Zero Lounge. Thank you for coming out.